In the headlines, federal government to meet delegation of organized labor over threat to begin strike against fuel subsidy removal. Saraf asked President Tinubu to probe $2.1 billion subsidy payment or face legal action. Police in Zamfara rescue 9 abducted children from bandits. And on the foreign scene, Ugandan soldiers killed by Al-Shabaab militants in Somalia. Hello and welcome to the news update on Trust TV. I am Ayuba Ilya. Thanks for joining. And now the details. The federal government is currently locked in a crucial meeting with the representatives of the Trade Union Congress at the State House in Abuja. The meeting is at the instance of the federal government and is expected to talk about matters arising from the removal of fuel subsidy. Observers believe this meeting may be aimed at breaking the ranks of the labor unions. A similar meeting was held last Wednesday between the Nigerian Labour Congress, Trade Union Congress and the federal government, but it ended without a consensus as all parties failed to reach a middle ground. The federal government's team, which is led by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, George Akume, is made up of the Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, former President of the Nigerian Labour Congress, Comrade Adams Oshomole, and the Group Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, Mele Kyari. Also on the team are members of the House of Representatives, James Faleke, and former Lagos State Commissioner for Information and Strategy, Dele Alike. On the TUC side are 7 members led by its president, Festus Osifo. The Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria has commended the federal government for approving importation of petroleum products by private firms. Chinedu Anyaso, chairman of Ipman Enugu Depot community in charge of Anambra, Ebonyi and Enugu State, said this while reacting to the development in Awka on Sunday. The managing director of the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, Farouk Ahmed, on Friday said private marketers could now import petrol into the country. Farouk said under the new arrangements, the NNPCL had ceased to be the sole importer of petrol into Nigeria. Anyaso said this was a positive development and appropriate response to the demands of marketers and Nigerian masses who had condemned the monopolistic grip of NNPCL in the oil and gas sector for decades. In a similar vein, Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project has asked President Bola Tinubu to probe the allegations that $2.1 billion US and 3.1 trillion naira public funds of oil revenues unbudgeted as fuel subsidy payments are missing and unaccounted for between 2016 and 2019. Saraf urged him to name and shame anyone suspected to be responsible for alleged widespread and systemic corruption in the use of oil revenues and the management of public funds budgeted as fuel subsidy, and to ensure their effective prosecution as well as the full recovery of any proceeds of crime. Saraf also urged him to promptly, thoroughly, independently, transparently and effectively probe all fuel subsidy paid by successive governments since the return of democracy in 1999 and to use any recovered proceeds of crime as palliatives to address the impact of any subsidy removal on poor Nigerians. Saraf said if the recommended measures are not taken within 3 days, it shall take all appropriate legal actions to compel the government to comply with its request in the public interest. Now to security matters. Security operatives have rescued 9 kidnapped children at the Gora Maimaye community in the Maradu local government area of the state. A statement by the police public relations officer Yazid Abubakar explained that the police received information from the district head of Gora Namaye village that 9 children, both male and female, who were sent on an errand by their parents to the bush to fetch firewood, were intercepted and abducted by terrorists. The kidnapped victims have been reunited with their families, and efforts are still on to trace the hoodlums for prosecution. The joint police and military patrol is ongoing around the axis to forestall reoccurrence of the incident in the troubled community. The new commandant of the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, NSCDC, deployed to Zamfara State, Mustafa Sani, has warned personnel of the Corps to desist from violation of citizens' rights, as their primary responsibility is to protect the citizens against criminals. He gave the warning while taking over the command from the outgoing commandant, Muhammad Bello, in Gusau, the Zamfara State capital. The report.
Personnel of the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, NSCDC, and some civilians witnessed the handing and taking over of the Zamfara State command of the Corps by a new commandant. The outgoing commandant, Muhammad Bello, has handed over the command to the newly posted commandant, Mustafa Sani, to lead and work with other security agencies in the fight against banditry. Bello, while thanking the Commandant General for the opportunity to serve Zamfara, a state with persistent security challenge, enjoined NSCDC personnel to accord new commandant maximum support to succeed.
What I want to seek further is a maximum cooperation that tend to be unalloyed one. I want you to accord it to my new incoming commandant to the state. Nothing more, nothing less of what I think I expected from you. Please give him that maximum cooperation.
The new NSCDC commandant, Mustafa Sani, said that he will not tolerate laziness and indiscipline from any of the personnel in the command in view of the daunting task before.
All the structure I made on ground, I will still maintain same. Unless every prove yourself otherwise. I'll give you tax and expect 100% result from you, not 99.
Sani assured residents that the Corps will do what it takes to protect citizens and critical national assets from criminal elements in Zamfara State.
A group under the umbrella of Concerned Youth has raised an alarm over plot to exempt certain members-elect from participating in the inauguration of the 7th Nasarawa State House of Assembly. Addressing journalists in Lafia, the state capital, the group alleged plans by the camp of the immediate past speaker to cause political unrest that may hinder some members-elect who are against him from participating in the inauguration. The report.
Trust TV reports that the 6th Assembly had officially winded up after its valedictory session last week. Investigation by our correspondent indicates that Governor Abdullahi Sule is expected to make a proclamation and inaugurate the principal officers of the 7th Assembly in the next few days. We gathered did not go down well with the All Progressive Congress Concerned Group.
Any attempt to jeopardize the constitution, process and right of members of Nasarawa State House of Assembly will resist. That the government and APC leadership should stop using religions to undermine the peaceful coexistence of the state.
This press conference was organized to tell the people of Nasarawa State on the alarming danger planning by some unpatriotic politicians to truncate not only the good democratic practices, but existing peaceful coexistence enjoined in Nasarawa State.
It was learned that as it stands, 3 returning members, including the former speaker, Ibrahim Balarabe Abdullahi, have indicated interest to pilot the affairs of the 7th Assembly. Others include Mr. Daniel Oga Ogazi, representing Kokona East, Ladi Jato, representing Kokona West, respectively. The outcome of the 2023 governorship and the state assembly elections placed the ruling party in a serious difficult position. All Progressive Congress got 11 seats against People's Democratic Party's 8, while other minority parties such as the Social Democratic Party SDP and the New Nigerian People's Party NNPP have 3 and 2 respectively. The vote tally indicated that the opposition parties collectively have 13 against the ruling party's 11.
An auto crash in Zakire town of Kano Ringim Road in Gabasawa local government area of Kano State has claimed the lives of 18 passengers. The incident caused by overspeeding, dangerous driving and overloading and involved two commercial vehicles and resulted in a head-on collision and the subsequent bursting into flames of one of the buses. The Federal Road Safety Corps Sector Commander of the Kano State, Ibrahim Abdullahi, confirmed the tragic accident. Expressing his condolences, Abdullahi lamented the magnitude of avoidable road crashes that have occurred in Kano State over the past week. During a visit to the crash scene, he warned motorists, particularly intercity and interstate drivers, to refrain from overloading, excessive speeding, wrongful overtaking, and other traffic violations that could lead to such devastating accidents. The injured victims were promptly transported to Murtala Muhammad General Hospital in Kano for urgent medical attention. Meanwhile, some of the deceased were given a mass burial at the accident scene, while others were handed over to their grieving relatives. The Katsina State Internal Revenue Service has issued warning to recover over 1 billion naira in debt and liabilities from commercial banks and other taxpayers operating in the state. The executive chairman of the service, Dr. Mustafa Muhammad, led officials to 3 commercial banks and Ketco Electricity Distribution Company to post notices in strategic points. Jamil Mabai highlights the warning exercise in this report.
Posting notices in strategic points. The Katsina State Internal Revenue Service has issued a warning exercise to recover over 1 billion naira in debt and liabilities from commercial banks and other taxpayers operating in the state. The chairman of the service, Dr. Mustafa Muhammad, led officials to 3 commercial banks and Ketco Electricity Distribution Company. According to the notice, defaulters has 2 weeks to settle their outstanding liabilities, failure of which will result in recovery options without further recourse.
We are giving them a period of 2 weeks within which to come forward and settle their outstanding liabilities, failure of which will result in recovery options without further recourse to these organizations. The state government is serious about this issue of revenue generation. So we are going to spare no agency that refuses to comply with the necessary provisions and relevant provisions of the law.
The warning exercise is to alert the general public of the erring company's non-tax compliance and to discourage their customers and clients from transacting businesses with them.
We have banks that owe up to 500 million. We've gotten to court with Ketco. Ketco owes about 190 something million, close to 200 million. So the amounts range, the amounts vary. The action we have, the law has given us all the necessary provisions within which to recover government monies from taxpayers, from erring taxpayers. So this exercise we've commenced with today is more or less a warning exercise. You can see it's a warning. We have told the public that these agencies are non-tax compliant. And your interest, it is better you do not deal with them. We are going to give them a period of 2 weeks, after which we will now enforce the full provisions of the law. We have quite a lot of options given by the law. We can garnish their accounts, we can freeze their accounts, we can take over their assets, we can lock up the premises until we get our payments. We have quite a number of options. Katsina State is a taxpayer-friendly state. So we don't want to get into that, and we are hoping it will not get to that. We are hoping this warning should serve and should be enough.
The affected companies declined request to respond on the issue. Jamil Mabai, Trust TV, Katsina.
You're watching the news update on Trust TV. Coming up shortly, we'll take a look at how to avoid grey hair. Details and more after the break.
TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
Welcome back. This is the news update on Trust TV. Here's a look at the top stories. Federal government to meet delegation of organized labor over threat to begin strike against fuel subsidy removal. Seraph asked President Tinubu to probe $2.1 billion subsidy payment or face legal action. All intending pilgrims from Nasarawa State, Nigeria, airlifted to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia have commenced Hajj rituals. Public Relations Officer of the State Pilgrims Welfare Board, Abdurazak Muhammad, told Trust TV that over 2,000 pilgrims are already in the holy city of Medina. Abubakar Abdullahi sent in this report from Medina.
Since Thursday, 25th of last month, the National Hajj Commission commenced airlifting intending pilgrims with those who have the opportunity and met all the requirements from Nasarawa State. Speaking to Trust TV during the pilgrims' visit to some of the historical sites in Medina, the birthplace of Prophet Muhammad, may the peace be upon him, the Public Relations Officer of the Nasarawa State Pilgrims Welfare Board, Abdurazak Muhammad, confirmed that all over 2,000 pilgrims from the state are already at the different places of Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. The Public Relations Officer explained that the pilgrims were airlifted from Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, to King Abdulaziz International Airport, Medina, in 5 different flights. However, the PRO said that 4 intending pilgrims could not make it to the journey because of the accident involving them along Kefi Abuja Road on their way to Abuja Airport a day before the commencement of the flight.
We airlifted almost all the pilgrims except 4 of them who involved in an accident on their way to Hajj camp. And the National State government have taken promise to pay off their medical bill and other things. And next year we'll give them first priority. All our intended pilgrims are currently in Saudi Arabia. First and second flight are currently in Mecca, while today the 3rd flight will be moving to Mecca. Then the 4th and 5th will be in Medina. After spending their 7 days, we'll move them to Mecca.
He said so far, the pilgrims from the state are carrying out activities without challenges, except changes in environment and food.
There is no challenges, only maybe the change in weather and different in fruit varieties among others. But Alhamdulillah, they were copying it up.
Some of the state pilgrims who shared their experiences in Saudi Arabia promised to pray for peace, unity, and progress of Nigeria. The pilgrims are given different accommodation close to Prophet Mosque in Medina and Grand Mosque of Kaaba in Mecca.
Now, people develop gray hair at different stages of life depending on the cause. It could be genetic, age, or pressure. But at what age should people begin to expect gray hair? Let's hear from Abdullahi Ahmadi.
As people get older, the pigment cells in their hair follicles gradually die, such that the strands of hair will no longer contain melanin and becomes transparent color, as in gray, silver, or white as it grows. Many people ask question that, at what age do people begin to grow gray hair? Experts say people can begin to notice gray hair in life at their 30s. Some may even find theirs in late 20s. It is normal for one to have gray hair, especially women in their late 20s, as experts agreed that stress, genetic, and other factors can play a significant role.
The genetic, that is hereditary, which somebody will inherit it from his parent. A young person from 20 up to 30, he can experience gray hair due to hereditary. In old age, it's irreversible, but in diseases, especially deficiencies, if of that vitamins, as I said earlier, when you reverse it to the vitamins, good balanced diet, treatment, white hair can turn to black.
What do people think about going grey?
I thought generally speaking, when you see somebody with a gray hair, you will just say, that man is old.
People are looking at me as an elderly person, even though maybe my age has not reached to that,
A lot of people are not aware that gray hair can be caused by deficiencies in vitamin D3 and B12 and can be stopped or reduced by using micronutrients such as vitamin E, A, iron, copper, and zinc for healthy hair growth. In the same vein, there are also some home remedies to gray hair. Some food supplements are also suggested as natural hair growth enhancers. Eating right, living stress-free life, and exercising can also help in getting rid of gray hair, experts admitted.
Most of the security agents that I meet on the road, they respect me because of my gray hair. They either call me Ustaz, Malam, Baba, and what have you. I can even see somebody that I'm definitely sure he's older than me. But because of my gray hair, he will still call me Baba.
No, it keeps my prestige in the eyes of the public.
Hurhura wato wani abu ne wanda yake mai daraja gun Allah subhanahu wataala.
You see, gray hair is a blessing. God chooses people who He gives gray hairs.
Mutumin da ke da hurhura, Allah subhanahu wataala ya sanya masa wata irin daraja.
Abdullahi Ismail Amadi, Trust Television News, Katsina.
Now, Malam Abdullahi Maikayamia is a household name around Arikilang Nasarawa area in Wamako local government area of Sokoto State. He pioneered perishable items trading in the community. But after trading for 20 years, Malam Abdullahi now survives on begging. Malam Abdullahi, who is originally from Jegawa village in Bodinga local government area of the state, said he had been into perishable items business before being struck by glaucoma, which consumed all his savings, leaving him with no alternative to begging.
A ciki ba wanda suke da karfin da za su tallafa ma? Babu masu kwari ciki. Gidan haya kake tare da iyalanka?
I was doing well in the business when suddenly I started losing my sight. I spent all my money on treatment but did not regain my sight, and I have many dependents, including 2 wives and 10 children. I cannot let them die of hunger. So I opted for begging, at least to be able to put something on the table, no matter how small. Honestly, I don't like begging, but it appears to be the only means for survival because my children are still young. They cannot shoulder our responsibilities. I used to go out with a guard before getting a good Samaritan who sponsored my eye surgery. I can now see with my eyes, but I don't have money to go back to my business. I learned that a basket of tomatoes is around 30,000 naira. I don't know the cost of pepper and other perishable items. I don't need much, just a little to start with.
Now, on the foreign scene, Uganda's President Yoweri Museveni has announced the deaths of 54 Ugandan soldiers in an Al-Shabaab attack on a base housing African Union peacekeepers in Somalia. Museveni's statement comes a week after Al-Shabaab fighters stormed the base in Bulamara, 130 kilometers southwest of the Somali capital Mogadishu. The armed group claimed it carried out suicide bomb attacks on May 26 and killed 137 soldiers. Museveni said that the Ugandan People's Defense Forces had since recaptured the base from the Al-Qaeda-linked armed group. Al-Shabaab has been fighting since 2006 to replace Somalia's Western-backed government with its own rule based on strict interpretation of Islamic law. A Russian air raid on the central Ukrainian city of Dnipro has wounded 20 people, including 5 children. Now, Shehi Lysak, the regional governor of Dnipro, said that 3 of the children were in serious condition following the attack on a residential district. A total of 17 people were being treated in hospital. Media reports said that emergency teams have pulled out 4 people from under rubble in the area. Russian air raids over Ukraine have ratcheted up in recent weeks, as have incursions in the opposite direction. Russian officials said that Ukrainian shelling killed 2 people in Belgorod, a border region that has been hit by repeated attacks this week. The latest deaths bring the overall toll in Belgorod border villages to 7 this week. And now in sports news, Lionel Messi and Sergio Ramos played their final games for Paris Saint-Germain as the Ligue 1 champions lost to mid-table Clermont on the final day. Now, defender Ramos headed in an opener from Vitinha's cross, and Kylian Mbappe's penalty gave PSG a 2-0 lead. Now, Clermont battled back and Johan Gastien slid in after Marco Verratti's error. And that's it for the news update. You can watch more via all our social media platforms and also on our YouTube live stream. I am Ayuba Ila. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.